Hey everypony, today we're looking at another laning phase where I'm playing as Annie. This time, we're looking at what happens when you're playing against Fizz, the fishy assassin. So, as Annie, you're trying to use your stun very aggressively, but we of course want to make sure that we keep farming. Keep in mind Fizz is melee, and most of the things that he does happen from up close. And it's okay if you don't get every CS in this matchup. He's going to, more often than not, punish you if you get too close to him. And we do well with farming under a turret. And speaking of turret, you do want to go ahead and eventually freeze your lane somehow to make it sure that he has to come to you. And we don't do very well with CSing in this game at all. But nonetheless, we do manage to make sure that Fizz doesn't get ahead. That's progress, if you can prevent Fizz from snowballing you. Okay, so right now, as you can see where the minions are, they're like about here. This is where the minions meet. So Lee Sin, if has an easier time to come ganking now if he wants to try his luck because of where the lane is. And if you can go and see, there you go. Lee Sin decides it's a good idea to come mid lane, but he probably picks the worst time ever because Realm is literally. Let me take a look at that. Let me take a look at that. What just happened? A little further back. Okay. So here, let's see. Yep, he literally gets spotted right as he comes out of the jungle. And he tried to come with 200, 300 HP. That's usually never a good decision. And on top of that, Fizz gets the kill, which is never a nice thing, but we do the one thing that we can do, and we somehow get to see him flash right there, which is very helpful. As you know, Flash has a cooldown of 5 minutes. So he tried to jump in on me, but I pretty much made him instantly jump because otherwise he would have gotten stunned by my W. So he does get a few CS's, but not without getting punished by a couple of autos and a Q in between. And he starts eating away his potions, or cookies. But the real problem now is he has buffs, but let's see what happened there. Let me go back. Hate it when it does that. Okay. Passive is at 4 stacks. I W. No, that actually was a Q and W. But what I did is I was waiting for him to go for a minion. Because you can always tell, like I said, Fizz is melee and he has to come close to damage something. And when he comes close to a minion, you can punish him back. And since you're Annie and you heard a close range, and ooh, there he does something very risky. That was almost gonna get him killed if I got him stunned into that tower. But he manages to live another day. CS wise, he's 3 in front of me. And once again, we try to, just farm and don't push too far. Which works on some champions. On some champions, you want to push them out, but if you're in a matchup where you're at a disadvantage like me right now, you don't want to push the lane too much. And this time Lee decides to come to lane, but it's a little bit of a problem, and I tell him to not because I'm low on mana and I can't do much without mana. Anyway, the lane continues. Fizz pushes me in, and I try to farm on the tower as good as I can. And it's kind of uneventful for the first few minutes, which is a good thing when you're up against Fizz, because Fizz can destroy you if you give him too much of a lead in the early game. Which kind of happens because he does have his kill and a little bit of a CS lead, but about that, we'll see what happens. Okay. So once again, I have my stun up, and I'm waiting for him to commit to something. I missed the cannon minion. Okay, so right now we're just playing the distance game because of his ultimate, and his ultimate can probably screw me over. Unless I use my E, I might be dead pretty quickly. Meanwhile, in top lane, we're giving away quite a bit of gold here. And just continue to CS. That's all that we can do right now, and it's the only thing that we want to make sure that we don't give him too much. He does have a CS lead of 8, but here we go. There was another. Oh, let's see. Let's go back a little and see what just happened there. Okay, so let's see. Right now, I have my stun up at 4. My passive being at 4 stacks. So what you have to realize is once more, I Q him just after he goes for a minion, getting off the stun, W, and auto attack. He E's me, but I instantly walk to tower as he gets the jump on me because he of course doesn't want to take free tower shots. And right now, I have a pretty interesting advantage. He doesn't have flash anymore. I have both of my summoners. There's only one solution to this. I'm waiting for him to go for the minions again. Or even get close to them at this point. Look at this. This is just... So right now, I'm walking with the minions and waiting for him to jump onto these minions and farm. And there you go. That's close enough. W, Q, ultimate, and ignite for the kill. That must have been pretty close to max range, but it was enough. Let's look at it again. So, but you see the important part is here that I use the minions in my lane to go where I want to be. I want him to get close to the minions. But I think he turned it around just after I flashed, or like pretty much at the same time. So I ward this area, I push my wave through, and make all these minions go at the tower, and there you go. That's all it needed, is a slight misstep from Fizz, and him wasting his flash in the early game pretty much got him dead just now. If he didn't accidentally flash, he probably could have gotten away. Maybe. Even though, so I did pour a crap ton of damage onto him. Anyway, let's look what I got. I got my Life Crystal, Amplifying Tome, and Blasting Wand, plus boots. So right now in terms of CS, I'm behind by 2. But I didn't die compared to him, but I did have to go back eventually because I need to keep up with him in terms of items. He gets the lane first, CSing further, but the lane stays in sort of an equal state, which is usually better than it goes mostly if you're a close-ranged mage against Fizz. So let's take a look at what happens here. We have Lee Sin doing something nice for me. He manages to get Fizz's ultimate out of the way, and that really opens up the door. So, meanwhile, Fizz left his lane for a little bit of whatever that was. But he does give me the ability to close the gap in CS. And right now, let's see. Did I get a kill on him? No, but I think I did hide my stun again. Let me take a look at that once more. Let's see. So yeah, the thing happens in the bottom. Of course I farm meanwhile, which is always something you should do. If your mid laner leaves the lane, and you know that either the other lanes are going back because I know someone's coming, or you know where he's going to be, and you can sit in lane and farm to do so. So let's see what happens. I'm at 3 stacks right now. I Q, and just before the Q lands, I E in midair, getting a stun, allowing me to walk up, W. But I wasn't sure if he had his E, and so I didn't auto-attack him for the Thunderlord's proc. Nonetheless, we keep farming and doing our best to make sure this lane goes in our favor. And from there on out, once again, we go back into farming and preying on his mistakes. Right now, he does have his summoners. I don't have my summoners. Lee Sin, however, is on his way again. But I kind of can't do much. At least not at this point. But I walk up eventually as Lee Sin comes into lane, and Fizz just uses his jumpy pole to get out, which makes it so hard to get Fizz. He could just, you know, jump out. But now, keep in mind, Lee Sin is in the upper half of the jungle, and we're using that in a few to set up something. Fizz does have not all of his HP, and we're making use of that. I walked this way because I thought I saw a certain someone down there, but he was not there. And someone pinged me SS. And now let's see. I have my passive at 3 stacks again, so here goes. I get ulted again. He misses the ult, and he walks towards me, and somehow he decided to Q me. But I Q'd him also, getting the stun. Tibbers. My W is off cooldown, but watch what happens here. I do something pretty tactical here. So after my whole combo comes out on him, I walk towards his turret because I know that this is usually the way he would flee if he wants to get to safety. But of course, if you're walking this way, you're making him run towards the river, and that's precisely what happens. He flashes towards the river, and look who's in the river, or pretty close to river. Lee Sin, and I do the last thing that's necessary. I hurt him right up there, and walks right into Lee Sin's arms. Lee Sin has to Q from up close, jump, and that is a very dead Fizz. So that's the second time Fizz built this time. I wasn't able to get the kill, but I was pretty much able to hurt him like a little sheep into Lee Sin's arms. And I enjoy the kill. I'm picking up slowly but steadily, gaining the advantage by keeping him off of the lane. And I kill the minion. And once again, I do decide to go back and do something with my gold. So meanwhile, we're going to take a look at the other lanes and see what happens here. Bottom lane's getting pushed in a little bit. Lee Sin is about to do things on bottom lane. The one lane that's struggling most this game is top lane because Teemo against Urgot is an ugly match if you're Teemo, especially with the new Urgot. Anyway, we go back into lane with a whole bunch of goodies. Let's see, what do we get? We finished our Crystal Scepter, one of my favorite items. It's always good to go back for that thing. So, what Crystal Scepter does is whenever someone gets damaged by an ability of mine, they get slowed. So this means my Q, W, and R all slow him, but same goes for my E. When my E is cast and someone autos me, they take damage back, and that also activates Riley's Crystal Scepter. And of course it goes for when Tibbers is running after someone. So Riley's is actually a pretty amazing item. So right now I W the wave and just sit back. And right now, someone is right here waiting to get the jump on me, and we didn't see him. There's no vision from us since we're red side. I didn't see him. I didn't expect him to go for me that early, but I should have expected this since my lane is going sort of okay and Fizz is in need of trouble. So this happens. I get ganked by Ramus. I get the jump on. I W him just as he comes out of his Q. Ignite. Q. I don't get to Tibbers him because Tibbers runs out, but just as he lands, I Tibbers over the wall, and Tibbers chases him, autos him, and I think the Ignite takes him out. Let's take a look at that. So let's take a look at it, and just as he comes out, Tibbers barely gets him, autos, and the Ignite takes him out. Meanwhile, over here, I don't die. I think I had my E on for a little bit, but I wasn't gonna be dying here anyway. And did you see that? Let's look at that again. That was the real eye catcher. Later in this situation was what actually happened underneath my turret. So I get out of the whole situation, manage to take out Fizz, and escape my fate from Ramus. But the one who actually got close to killing me was Jinx. Now, as I teleport back, this ultimate misses me by what feels like an inch. I totally was lucky. And, I kind of deserve to die there. I totally forgotten we're playing against the Jinx with a global ultimate. And, yeah, I go back and finish my good old... let's see, I finished my magic boots. And with that, look at what has been happening in this lane. The early phase pretty much is over. I've gotten 202. Fizz has died 3 times. Meanwhile, I didn't die yet. I have a slight CS advantage. I've apparently become threatening enough that 2 people have to come and ruin my day. And honestly, this being the laning phase is pretty amazing against Fizz, and we're gonna take a look at what else happens throughout this game. So one thing that you do want to do is, if your laning phase is this good and you know you're stomping, or at least making it somewhat easy or having an easy time, you go to the other lanes, and I ping my SS and I actually go down as well this time. So like I was saying, when your lane is going good, you want to bring that lead into the other lanes. Like, you want to help the other lanes, like you see that other lanes aren't doing so well or could use a little help, then that's what you do. So I cast the scrying orb to see where they have all vision down there, and meanwhile Lee Sin gives me my blue buff, and I decide to head back into lane because I realize there's nothing that's happening down there. So I continue to farm. Farming is good, and once again, fish guy isn't in lane to get CS, which kind of eventually gets him to, you know, fall further and further behind. And Fizz does need a lot of stuff in early game. So right now, we're doing something pretty interesting. Look at how far bottom lane is pushed up. Look at how far they're pushing up. The minions are pushing through, and they're pretty much getting stuck under their tower. Meanwhile, I'm here. Let's see. Let's take a look at the Fog of War and change that to blue side. See, this ward spotted me. They know I'm coming, but look at how far they're up. There's no way they can run that. They can't run me. It gets pinged, but they're done. This is why you need to watch out how far we push. And at this point, Jinx is pretty much dead. And of course, the whole thing continues. We try to chase down Karma, but we're happy we killed off their ADC. She saves herself with the blasting cone and walk back into mid lane. And yeah, the deed's done. Kill the bottom lane AD carry, which is always a nice thing to do if you're mid lane. Anyway, let me switch back to the Fog of War for everyone. There we go. And yeah, with that, we can kind of conclude on how to do your lane with Annie into Fizz is to play with your minions and use your stun whenever he gets close to you, occasionally hiding his stun and making sure that you don't waste his stun until he gets out of his troll pull, because you can't hit him while it happens. But there's going to be one more kill, which is, I think, interesting and can just showcase you how much you can mind game someone with that. And it has to do with how your passive works. So your passive gains a stack whenever you hit someone with an ability. So if your Q flies onto someone and that certain someone dodges that Q before it actually hits, that actually is not counted as a stack because the Q did not land. And so we get to do another very, very dirty thing to this Fizz, and that's kind of why I'm going a little bit extendedly into this video and explanation. Meanwhile, top lane has been giving away 2 more kills. Oh no. So this is why it's important to always try to, you know, if you win your lane, snowball into other lanes, and that's kind of what happens. Anyway, let's take a look at this. I hit my, see, my Q, I was about to do the stun hiding thing. I Q'd, but the Q missed, and so I pressed my E, giving myself 4 stacks right now, instead of getting the direct stun onto him. And so, as soon as he jumps out, I can W, Tibbers, Ignite, and Tibbers auto attacks him a couple times, and there's the kill onto Fizz for the 4th time now. I don't know if I was all 4. I think I killed him 3 times and Lee killed him a 4th time, but yeah, that's essentially showing you guys how much you can do. And of course, it ends like good laning phases, and with a kill onto the turret, and with huge amounts of kills, a little bit of a CS lead. And yeah, this game did end up getting to go very well in my favor. Even though top lane lost heavily, we were able to capitalize onto a winning mid lane and later winning bot lane as well, and therefore able to close out the game. So every pony, I hope this was helpful to watch for you. I thank you everyone so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.